In southwestern Ethiopia, where the Omo River winds through a dry and mysterious valley, there is a community that continues to live as if the modern world were nothing more than a distant passing breeze. The Mursi, one of the smallest yet most distinctive ethnic groups in Africa, continue to safeguard rituals, customs, and body art that have made them one of the most intriguing tribes in the eyes of travelers, scholars, and even the government. Yet behind the familiar images of women with massive lip plates or fierce stick-fighting duels, among young men lies a far more complex story, one of survival of modern pressures, and of genetics, the very force that has made Ethiopia a major crossroads of humankind. The daily life of the Mursi revolves around cattle, the lifeblood of their economy, and the anchor of their cultural identity. Cows are not merely animals to them. They are a form of currency, the foundation of bride wealth, a source of nourishment, and a spiritual link to ancestors. A young man's worth is measured by the size of his herd, and cattle songs are sung as though each animal has a personality and destiny. Milk and blood from cows sustain families during harsh dry seasons when crops fail and wild fruits become scarce. The Mursi pierce the necks of their cattle to draw blood, which they mix with milk into a high-protein drink, a practice that at first shocks outsiders but has ensured survival for generations. In marriage negotiations, cattle form the backbone of exchange. To wed, a man must offer dozens of cows to his bride's family, cementing alliances between clans and ensuring social stability. Women, meanwhile, embody one of the Mursi's most visually arresting traditions, the insertion of clay plates into the lower lip. The process begins when a girl reaches adolescence, usually between 15 and 16 years old. Her lip is pierced, gradually stretched, and a series of increasingly larger plates are inserted until it can accommodate a disc as wide as 20 centimeters. To outsiders, this practice often looks bizarre or painful. But to the Mursi, the lip plate is a symbol of beauty, maturity, and social value. It is tied to marriageability and to the cattle exchanges that define alliances between families. The larger the plate, the higher the prestige of the family. Some anthropologists suggest that the lip plate is also a statement of resistance, a way of asserting cultural autonomy in the face of outside influence. The tradition, however, is slowly changing, with younger generations sometimes opting for smaller plates or abandoning them altogether, influenced by schooling tourism and government policies. Scarification is another practice that transforms the body into a living canvas of identity. Men cut deep incisions into their chests, shoulders, or arms, rubbing ash or other substances into the wounds so that raised scars form intricate patterns. Each scar tells a story of battle survived, a bull successfully wrestled, or a rite of passage endured. Women, too, practice scarification, particularly across the stomach or back, with patterns that symbolize fertility, beauty, or resilience. In a community without written records, scars serve as both autobiography and social currency. They are visible archives of pain, endurance, and triumph. Among the most dramatic expressions of Mursi masculinity is donga, or stick fighting. At first glance, it looks like an intense sport. Young men enter an arena with long wooden poles and engage in duels that often draw blood. But beneath the spectacle lies a deeper meaning. Donga is a rite of passage, a stage on which young men prove their courage, agility, and worthiness for marriage. Victories in stick fights bring not only admiration, but also the attention of potential brides and their families. The fights can be brutal. Broken bones are not uncommon, but they are governed by rules meant to prevent death. For the Mursi, donga is less about violence than about channeling aggression into controlled, socially meaningful displays. Daily survival requires a wide range of skills. Women grind sorghum into flour on stone slabs, prepare porridge, and brew a fermented beer consumed in communal gatherings. Men craft bowls from gourds, repair huts, and tend to herds. Children help with small tasks, such as carrying water or watching calves, while absorbing the rhythms of community life. Music and dance punctuate the season's flutes, carved from bamboo songs sung in chorus dances where bodies move in sync with the heartbeat of drums. These activities are not entertainment alone, but acts of social cohesion, stitching individuals into the fabric of the group. Religion among the Mursi is woven into everyday life, less a formal doctrine than a web of beliefs linking humans, cattle, and the landscape. They practice forms of animism, venerating natural forces and ancestral spirits. Ritual leaders, sometimes called shamans, perform ceremonies to bless herds, ensure rain, or heal the sick. Offerings of milk or tobacco are made to spirits, while divination practices guide decision making. The sacred and the mundane are intertwined. To care for cattle is to honor the ancestors. To cultivate the land is to maintain cosmic balance. Illness is rarely seen as random, but as a disruption of harmony requiring ritual correction as much as herbal medicine. Yet, the Mursi do not live in isolation. Their world has been shaken by the forces of modernity and state policy. The Omo Valley, once remote, has become a focus of development and geopolitical interests. The construction of the Jaib III Dam on the Omo River drastically reduced seasonal flooding, which had for centuries replenished the fertile floodplains where the Mursi planted sorghum and maize. Without predictable floods, agriculture has suffered, pushing communities into greater dependence on aid wage labor or risky survival strategies. Simultaneously, commercial plantations and large-scale land acquisitions have encroached on traditional grazing areas, threatening the delicate balance between cattle crops and wild resources. Guns have further transformed Mursi society. In the past, stick fighting was the main outlet for male aggression, but now Kalashnikov rifles, often acquired through trade with neighboring groups, or via Sudan, have become symbols of status. Clashes with neighboring tribes, particularly over grazing land and water, have grown more deadly. Elders lament this change, noting that disputes which once ended with bruises or broken bones now end with corpses. Tourism has also left its mark. The striking image of Mursi women with lip plates has attracted photographers from around the world. Some communities now stage performances for tourists, painting their faces, posing for pictures, and asking for money in return. While this brings cash, it also risks commodifying culture, reducing complex traditions into exotic spectacles. Younger Mursi sometimes view tourism as an economic opportunity, while elders worry it erodes dignity and authenticity. The tension between preservation and adaptation plays out in everyday choices, whether to wear a lip plate, whether to send children to school, whether to join government programs encouraging sedentarization. Against this backdrop, genetics offers another lens for understanding who the Mursi are. Ethiopia is a crossroads of human history, a place where ancient migrations left genetic footprints. Studies of Ethiopian populations, including groups in the Omo Valley, reveal that their genomes are mosaics. Roughly 40–50% of the DNA in many Ethiopian groups traces to lineages outside Africa, primarily from the Middle East, reflecting waves of migration over the past 3,000 years. For the Mursi, this genetic story suggests that they are both guardians of deeply rooted African lineages and participants in a broader human saga of movement and exchange. More specifically, genomic analyses highlight adaptations to their environment. Variants in genes related to lactose tolerance, for example, are common among pastoralist groups, allowing adults to digest milk and thrive on cattle-based diets. The Mursi, like their Nilotic neighbors, show higher frequencies of these variants, reflecting thousands of years of coevolution with cattle. Other genetic signatures point to adaptations in immune function helping them cope with the infectious diseases that have long plagued the region. These insights bridge the gap between culture and biology. The ritual centrality of cattle is not only symbolic but literally inscribed in their DNA. Anthropologists emphasize that genetic findings should not reduce the Mursi to mere data points. DNA provides context but cannot replace the lived meanings of rituals, songs, and scars. Just as a lip plate is an external marker of identity, so too are genetic variants internal markers of resilience, connecting the Mursi both to their ancestors and to the shared human journey. Happiness for the Mursi is not defined by wealth in the conventional sense. To an outsider, their lives may appear difficult. No electricity, few possessions, threats of violence and environmental stress. But within the community, joy arises from continuity, raising healthy children, protecting cattle, maintaining rituals. Women often say their greatest fulfillment is becoming mothers, while men take pride in guiding their herds and proving their courage. Ceremonies, dances, and storytelling nights around the fire nurture a sense of belonging. What the Mursi fear most is not poverty, but the erosion of their way of life, the loss of language, ritual, and land that tether them to the ancestors. The challenges they face are real. Climate change threatens rainfall patterns. State policies encourage resettlement. Armed conflict remains a risk. Yet the Mursi continue to adapt, negotiating with officials, engaging with NGOs, and teaching their children both traditional skills and modern knowledge. The result is a hybrid identity, neither frozen in time nor fully assimilated. The Mursi demonstrate that tradition is not the opposite of change, but a framework through which change is interpreted and integrated. They challenge the notion that modernity must erase tradition, showing instead how cultural practices can coexist with and even be strengthened by scientific understanding. Their lip plates and scars are not signs of backwardness, but of cultural creativity. Their stick fights are not mindless violence, but ritualized expressions of social order. Their DNA is not an abstract code, but a biological reflection of pastoralist life. To tell their story is to remind ourselves that humanity is diverse not only in appearance, but in the ways we make meaning from the world.